Hello YouTube and welcome to Adobe After Effects Basic Training number 2. Today on this video I'm going to be showing you how to import your footage from various places. Export footage. Well, export will be covered in another tutorial. Importing, organising and moving things around and getting to know how the basic use of putting things into After Effects and things like that. Okay, so we want to go ahead and create a new composition. I've just put it to custom, as if you saw my other video you would know why. We're going to do resolution full, background colour black, 10 seconds long. Doesn't matter about that, but you choose what you want to do and then press OK. And we've got a composition in our project window here. Over here, probably see them red circles around it. Yeah, so anyway, okay, so you can either double click here, which you can import file, import as footage, composition, or project. Most you just want to click footage, enable all acceptable files, or you can go file, import files, multiple files, or one of these, but I'll show you how to use all these different things in another tutorial. And you can also just find the movie that you wish, and just bring it in there, and just drag it in, basically into there. I'm just going to find a thing that I created with Adobe After Effects. I created this with Adobe After Effects. I'm going to drag it in, and it imports it to the project. Depending on the file size, it might take a while. And because I have a composition created, I can just simply drag from the project window, and you can either drop it in there, but the easiest way is just to drop it into here, and it puts my movie into the composition. Now if you can see, if we scrub it along, you can see what happens here. Now you can see that it's not very responsive when it comes to doing it, so I can bring this down a bit and scrub along, and it's a bit more responsive. Not much, because when you're just scrubbing, it's this that handles it here. It may be set to off for you. Now that makes it pretty slow, but if you put it to OpenGL interactive, if you have an OpenGL a compatible video card, then that'll work fine. Basically, when you're scrubbing, it brings the quality down, and then when you let go, it'll bring it back up again. So it just makes scrubbing a bit faster. Okay, so then you can do that. And then if I want to do a round preview, then you can see here, rendering frame 8 of 600. Now you can see that's basically what it does when you ask it to take your when you ask it to do a RAM preview. And the reason they call it a RAM preview is because it takes it from whatever RAM you have, and then previews it using all the frames that it's got. So far you can tell it takes a while, and that's in half resolution, and that's because it's a big file. But if you create something in After Effects, and you're not importing it like a different movie, it should be alright. But let's just see what happens when you click space. It's not going to do it. Okay, because for some reason it didn't do it then. It's being really slow, because I don't have the best high-tech computer that I work with here, so it's not always going to be the best. Nobody's perfect. So, yep, and then it's just going to continue. If I've not made any changes, it's going to continue rendering the frames that I was rendering before, and I can press space, and then it should stop the rendering and play back what you've got so far. And the first time round, it will take a while, for it to like properly go at full speed. And you can see here, frames per second 4 out of 60, not real time. Now that will happen the first time round. So when you click run preview and then press space, the first time round it'll be a bit jolty, but when it gets to how far you've rendered it up to, that little green bit there, then it'll go back and do it in real time. And you can monitor the frames per second here. So now it should go back and play it in real time. And yeah, and then if it'll go back. Normally does, but it's only playing at 1 frame per second. But if you don't make any changes to it, it'll be alright. Now you can see it's not the best frames per second, but you can kind of get the idea. And this is something I did recently create in After Effects with just a few simple expressions and keyframes, and I will go into them in another tutorial. And then you have your effect controls, but because it's not something, it's just a movie now, because I've exported it as a .mov file, it doesn't have any effect controls with it. So that's basically it. You got the composition there, and then that there, 2.5 gigabytes, that's a large file. And then you can just scrub through it and see what looks good. And you can put some audio on it, and then just make sure that that's unchecked, and then yeah, they can do that. And then when you're ready to export it, then you go to composition, add to render queue. Now what that does is puts it in the queue to render it out into another file. Now you can add loads of things to the render queue. So you get loads of compositions up here, and you're thinking, oh, I really don't want to do this one by one. You think, wouldn't it be so much easier if I could just click render once and it'd do it overnight or something? Well, yes, it can. So if I create just a new composition, just for example, just so I've got something in it, just going to create a solid layer, new solid. Okay, right, and then I can go composition, add to render queue, and it's going to add it to the render queue, and then it's got these two to render. And you can see you can get settings for both of them if you just press these arrows. They're normally open, and then you can tick to render them or not. So that's unqueued, and it's queued now. So yeah, and then you just click render, and it'll render them both. It'll render that, and then it'll render that, and wherever you tell it to output to. So I am just going to remove this from the render queue. Yeah, so I'm just going to get rid of that. And then you can click render settings, choose which you want to render and how you want to do it, 60 frames per second or 30 frames per second, and motion blur and field render and all that. I'll go into that in another tutorial. Output module, these more technical side of outputting. You don't really need to do this unless if you've got audio in your project, you want to click lossless, click audio output ticket, and the best is usually 44.1. So you'd click that, 16-bit stereo. Format options. You can choose. Uncompressed has better quality, but AAC is usually what's in like movies and stuff. And yeah, and you can do the same for video there, but you don't need to do that. And then you click OK, custom. See, and tell it where you want it to output to. By clicking on here, it'll bring up this box and tell it where you want it to output to and what you want to call it. And then you just click save. And then when you're ready, click render. Now, unless you've got a very powerful computer, this will slow your computer down a lot. But you can also fix this by going After Effects preferences or file preferences in Windows. Go down to memory and multiprocessing. And you can specify how much RAM you would like to use for After Effects and how much you want to reserve for other applications. So on my MacBook Pro, I have 8 gigabytes, but on my iMac, I only have 4 gigabytes. Now, this iMac is just a bit faster because it's got a higher video RAM and a better CPU. But the RAM on my other one's better, so that's better for RAM preview. But that's really all it's better for. And then you can specify how much you want to reserve for other applications. Say you can go 3 gigabytes for other applications, so it will be pretty fast for other applications if you want to use it while you're rendering it. Or if you want to go for the fastest render, bring that right down to 1.5 or the lowest you can go. And then you'll have 2.5 gigabytes reserved for After Effects, Premiere, Encore, and I don't know which one that is. That's not Adobe Bridge, and Adobe Media Encoder. Sorry, I didn't see that there. And then you can render multiple frames simultaneously and all that, but I'll go into that in another tutorial. And then click render, let it do, and then it'll appear where you tried to save it. So thank you for watching, and I will be doing another tutorial soon. I'm not sure which one's going to come next. You'll have to wait and see. And they'll all be in a playlist, so you'll be able to watch one by one if you just want to get loads of these tutorials on how to do it. So, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next tutorial. See you in a bit.